All right. Welcome to another episode of Valued Pursuit. My name is Dr. Patrick Davitt. This is a special episode where I'm sort of splitting off and Tyler's sitting at home. Very excited to interview my guest. So Joe from EmpowerU. Very excited. And I actually have his niece in my class as an exercise physiology student. As everyone knows, I'm a college professor, exercise physiology, and a former student actually got connected with you, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And I'm very excited to dive in. So welcome for a wonderful session. And Joe, thanks for being here.
Yeah, awesome. Dr. Davitt, Patrick, thank you so much for having me today. I'm Coach Joe from EmpowerU Specialty Fitness, and this is my first real podcast, so this is really exciting for me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we typically will do most of the ones that everyone will see. We are always on Zoom and we're in different sectors, so I'm excited to be here in person. It's one of those cool things. It's just a different vibe, and we'll kind of get into that because a big part of your business is there's a personal touch to it and things like that. So let's start by walking the viewers, everyone through. Tyler, always my co-host, always wants to call it the origin story. So walk us through what EmpowerU is, and then walk us through how EmpowerU came to be.
Yeah, so EmpowerU, we're a strength and conditioning exercise fitness company geared towards individuals with disabilities, right? So that includes individuals with developmental disabilities, cognitive disabilities, and also individuals with autism, and some on the spectrum of different geriatric disabilities as well. So we go out to people's homes and we train people as like a mobile service, basically. We're kind of talking about how we're almost like a home care, right? So we go to people's residential homes, gyms, local community centers. We take people out on local trails, hikes, anywhere that we can really get a person moving that they feel comfortable. Right, like we almost kind of treat it like a negotiation in a way, like wherever you want to go, we'll go as long as we can move there.
Right.
And it helps, definitely. So the origin story, my goodness. We started in 2019, small nonprofit, 501c3, giving out virtual exercise classes to an agency that worked with the IDD population and the autistic population as well. The classes ended up being a big hit. Our first one was, booked right away, and they kept asking for more and more. And I thought, maybe we have something here. And I ended up speaking with the CEO of that agency afterward, and he said, you really got to get in with Medicaid so you can push this mission to more and more people. We really, he really enjoyed what we were doing, and it seemed to be effective for all of his clients. So he wanted to see if he could, like you were saying, helping people, help me out and kind of push me in the right direction. He did, and it's been great ever since then, definitely.
And then, so what was the initial, after you did that, well, bring us up to, because we'll get into that, bring us up to that first virtual session.
Yeah.
How did
we really originated, right?
Why did you do that session?
Question.
Why did you do that session to begin with?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a long and a short to everything, right? But I feel like it starts when I was growing up. As a young person, I had a mother that would really kind of encourage me, as you're going through your teenage years and you're kind of like feeling punky, and she's like, go down to the local senior center and just sit with some of the people there.
Huh, that's awesome.
Volunteer your time and see if it makes you feel better, right?
Kudos, Mom.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's so rare.
Oh my gosh, amazing. The best.
And I've never heard anyone, it's kind of like study abroad, random students. I've never heard anyone study abroad say, that was a horrible experience in my life. It's like always the best. I've never heard anyone who's done random volunteer stuff, not even work, who said, man, that was a really horrible experience.
Right, and it's like you're feeling like kind of cruddy, like you're working through life and doing all this stuff, whatever. You're young, you're getting turning into a more mature person.
So you did this.
Yeah, and you think well, how's helping somebody else going to help me? But it actually really helped. And it wasn't something I was frequenting all the time, but I caught the drift after I did it a few times of what she was talking about. She was like the type of person that would drive somebody home from Walmart if they needed a ride.
Your mom.
Yeah. Just really nice. So getting it past that, I was going to college and I was in school for business, and I was sitting there thinking, I don't know if this is for me. As far as like all of the math and the different things you need to know about accounting, and the thought of working at a desk for a long time. I feel like a lot of people think that in college, like, oh, could I do this in one place for a long time? Talked to my guidance counselor who knew a lot about the kinesiology department.
Sure.
And I started in kin. And it was something that I could study. It was something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And it's another thing that I guess I didn't realize how much movement was a part of my life, right? Just like I didn't know how important kind of doing like a kind act for somebody or just learning from them, right, would actually help me.
Right. Had you been active? Like, were you an athlete growing up?
No, actually. So that's, I always get that in school.
Not really,
like,
not really sports.
Huh? Yeah, I played hockey as a young, but we didn't have an ice rink around us. It was a roller hockey league. I did love it, but it wasn't like I wasn't a guy in school that you'd be like, oh, he's an athlete, you know? We would surf, snowboard, we lived in a town like right by the beach. So I was,
Where was this?
Rhode Island. Yeah, from Rhode Island.
Yeah, right on.
And so those were, and it made you feel really good,
yeah.
right? And you could tell that. Getting into kin, you learn about why it makes you feel good and all the other benefits that you get from it as well. What you can actually do with this, right? It's like a power that you kind of hold that helps you not control, but maintain and preserve some of your health. And then after that, it was DPT school maybe next. It was a tougher time, right? So I didn't end up getting into the programs that I was hoping to get to. So I went to PTA.
Yeah. And now you did this. So anyone listening, kinesiology, exercise science, exercise phys, kind of all the same thing. You're studying the foundations of exercise science. So like the program that I run is exercise physiology.
Yes.
Sounds fancier. We really teach the same classes as a kines and an exercise science.
Yes.
So you finished with your four-year degree.
Yes.
Kinesiology.
Degree, kinesiology,
and
exercise
then you
phys.
looked.
Yep. And then I looked into DPT. Now at this time, my mom was actually really sick. So it was just like and I think that normally I was sitting here thinking like, do I bring this up? I think it's important because like I do think it's a part of the story, a part of the journey that kind of got us to here and shaped us, right? And I think that's important because especially being a professor,
right?
Like it sounds like in talking to you, you really care about where your students end up, and not in the sense of their financial success, but that they're happy with their life route, right? Like it seems like you're invested,
almost more so.
Yeah,
I've come to. This is one of the reasons why I love the podcast, and I love especially the one-on-one interaction. Some of my favorite components of my current job, I like teaching, but even more are the random sessions with students where it's all I do is try and challenge. Is this really where you want to go down? Is this the path you want to go? Here are these other paths. I'm trying to taunt them with
other
all
things.
These alternatives, but to have that, I want to know because I'm interested. Obviously, valued pursuit. Pursue a better version of you. There's value in that.
Absolutely. Right. And in those phases, it's like sometimes you are hit with insecurity about it or uncertainty or whatever it might be, or a bad environmental situation, right? Mm-hmm. Like, my mom and it's like, you're like, oh gosh, if I don't get this done, it's over for me. I planned everything for this.
Sure.
Like you don't realize how like young you are and how much time you actually have to really build a base.
Right.
And I think that that's an important message. Like it didn't work out for me the first time.
Sure.
And I ended up going into PTA school and it wasn't exactly what I wanted at the time, but I started to realize even after graduating that one, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be.
Just the PTA.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
which is a licensed physical therapy assistant.
Yeah.
It's nowadays, because when was that?
It's a 2-year degree.
Yeah, it's a 2-year associate's degree.
Yes, yep. I didn't realize how tough it was going to be. And then I ended up meeting these amazing professionals that were PTs, PTAs, CODAs, like this whole scope of clinical professionals that were instrumental into helping me build my career and who I was. And that took me down like directing for PT and then getting into home care where I met the population of people that I work with now. And then in 2017, I was directing at a facility and my daughter was born. She was born with Down syndrome. And I am a person that really wanted to learn about it, figure out what type of services she could have, how I could best support her, and how I could really be a part of the community. I feel like, community is such a pillar for me as a person.
Sure.
You definitely want to have good, like-minded, supported people around you, right? So like that took me into this field a little bit, and I started thinking like, ooh, maybe I could bring some of my strength conditioning and some of the knowledge that I know clinically, right, to know exactly who I should be working with or who a PT should be working with, and be able to bring this to this community and help them get fitness. In the PT world, we always talked about if this person got to us 5 years sooner, we may have been able to really kind of help them maintain and push off this injury, right? Maintain their health, push off this injury or push off this fall for a longer period of time. And now we have the opportunity to do it. And I thought it just like all the pieces just started to fit in. And that's when it was, it's like an aha moment, just like it will be for your students, right? As they go through these different things, it's like, you really want the first thing to work out. And sometimes it just doesn't, and you have to be able to maneuver to get to that next step so that you can build something that eventually you'll look back on and be like, this is what it was supposed to be. You
have to be willing to knock on other doors.
Yes,
Or try different combinations and things like that. A different combo is going to unlock like a different. It's like these sci-fi movies where you open the door, even like Monsters Inc. Stuff like that. You open the door and it goes to a alternate. It's like you have to be willing to want something else on the other side.
Totally. Oh my gosh, it's funny you said that. No, I just think like sometimes those doors open to places and you're like, this is a bit big of a leap. And like sticking with it. And so I think it's very true.
And so that brought you up to that point, and now you're ready to.
So then really, thinking about what I could do.
Right, your daughter was born.
Yes, with this community and how I could bring my skills to it. And that brought me to be like, well, I'll see if I can start a small nonprofit and just start doing exercise classes and seeing who responds well to it and what, your market's like.
But even before then, I guess part of that would be sort of one, hey, let's say even in the PTA, physical therapy, let me just open up another PT clinic. But let's backtrack a little bit. Did you sought out what services are available? Did you find?
Oh my gosh, yes. So like,
did you find services for your daughter?
That's the thing, right? I couldn't find any services as far as adults. So like you look into it and you're finding like, oh great, we could try this. We could take her to this gym. We could take her to these, this group, especially when she's a child.
Right.
Like a lot for
PTs,
pediatrics.
OTs.
Yes, definitely. Then you get into the adult years, and I noticed that I couldn't find much, and especially on fitness. And my mind was already kind of working. Like maybe I could bring something to this community. And I had worked with all adults,
Right.
I'm sure that you hear from your PT students or, anybody that in the field of pediatrics, it's like its own world. And I just knew that my strengths were much more in the adult world because that's where I had come up. I thought this is like another piece that's fitting into the puzzle.
Right.
And
it's filling a niche because it doesn't.
It
really
is, and
exist.
nobody else is out there. There weren't many people out there doing it. We ended up getting in through Medicaid. Now we do all one-on-one individualized programming. Right, we're like that home care kind of style service, and we're having awesome results. And it's been like a whirlwind of 18 months, 2 years with being under Medicaid. But it's been really awesome to watch it.
That's awesome. It's funny. I had forgotten it for a second, but when you said earlier, you'll have any kind of coach, fitness, nutrition, therapist, they'll say, I wish they had them 5 years ago. It makes me think in the PT world, you'll hear this term like prehab.
Yes.
And I know physical therapists, many times most people, almost exclusively all people, are going to come to you after they have had some type of injury or
fix it, I'm broken.
I need rehab. I had a question written down where and we can get into the populations because you serve a lot of different populations. But it was this sort of concept of when does rehab turn into fitness? Or is it one of those things where, well, technically you're rehabbing them with an aspect of fitness, but then at what point, because it's not an injury for a lot of your clients, it might, some of them, like you get into MS, Parkinson's, that's an onset, so it is a new thing in
it's
their
really
life.
like preventative.
Right.
Like I just feel like when you exercise to prevent illness and injury in the future, you want to be healthy, right? You want to be mentally healthy. You want to be physically healthy. And I think that bringing that to anyone, whether it's our specific population of people or not, is something that can be really valuable for them. And you have the brightest minds in PT that talk about it. If we could do more prevention, we'd do a lot more good, and it would save a lot more Medicare dollars. We are a society built around, I need it now, and I don't want to do the hard work now. I'll just wait until it breaks, and I'll just have to go fix it then. And I think that not everyone is like that, obviously. But if we could get a person in the gym for 1, 3, 5 years even, right, on a consistent 3-day-a-week program, we are saving that person a lot of trouble in their older years, no matter what we're doing, whether the exercises are more built toward a clinically sensitive person that actually needs, correction of symmetry to help with alignment, to keep away from compensation and all the issues that they might run into. Or if it's a person that is like we have on a passive range of motion program that was created by a PT and then sent home with this person that we actually carry out, right? I always have to be very careful with the Practice Act.
Sure.
People are always like, you're kind of like a pseudo, I'm not a pseudo PT. I was a PTA and now I'm a strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
Yeah.
but with that, a PTA is a licensed practitioner of their craft.
Absolutely.
Right? You're licensed in the state of Pennsylvania. Strength and conditioning is sort of the gold. It's become the gold standard of the field of strength and conditioning. And you're improving. And when I teach and you have the degree, it's like, well, the 5 health-related physical fitness components: body comp, flexibility, muscular strength, muscular endurance, cardiorespiratory. It's like, well, take that plus all the skills, reaction time, balance, coordination, agility, which are very pertinent to a lot of the populations you work with. And it's like, hey, that's CSCS, the certified strength coach. You're a certified individual to work on those specific things.
Yes.
But and that's where you get into that field. That's one of the reasons why I really resonated with your business. I'm a very break the mold, don't put me in a box type of individual.
Love that.
Also with the mindset, I think it was Henry Ford had a really good quote. It said, vanity, it's a really interesting one. Vanity is doing something with more that could be done the same with less.
Yeah.
So the idea is nothing against some of those certifications and licensures for the full PT.
I know what you're saying.
But it's like we were chatting about this one individual, and I asked, do you want to be a PT or do you want to do the things PTs do? Because you can do a lot of good in the world without going that full route. Not that route isn't a great route.
Yeah.
But
I do think and even the year that I came up in.
Yeah.
2006, graduating high school and getting into school in 2007, it was Consumer Report. It was another thing my mom was big on.
Right.
The PT is the biggest, and it was almost a lot of people were getting funneled into that profession. And I think that there are a lot of people in PT that are great at what they do, and I think it's a great profession. But I also think that there are a lot of people that sign up for it and don't realize exactly everything that it entails, once they get involved in it. And there are alternative options for people out there, that they can make a career, and it can be the thing that they need, whether it's financially successful or feeds a passion or, it's your purpose in life.
Yeah, fulfillment, but you're also bringing change, and then by change that you're bringing aid and help.
Yes.
And benefit to whoever needs it, because there's a lot of people that need it and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are options.
Yeah. All right, so you started EmpowerU, and talk us through a lot of your clients, the different types of...
Yes, we do have a wide range of skills and abilities and different skill sets with our clients. I was talking to somebody yesterday about how some of our people really just get on a call the first time. It's like, Joe, I hate the idea of exercise. Okay, because it's normal for me at this point, really. Do you like to walk? Yeah, actually, nobody can keep up with me. You have any people that are fast at walk? I'm like, this is perfect. This person is going to be driven more from cardiovascular endurance type of stuff. Right. And then it's like a cardio plan that we kind of build into, mixed in with higher intensity training for resistance training or whatever it might be. That really kind of feeds this person's soul a little bit. It's like we really just want the people that we're working with, and I'm taking you off track a little bit here, to find that fire that you find or I find when I exercise. That thing that keeps me coming back to it. That thing that clears that cloud.
Yeah. We were talking about,
Exactly. And I want to spark that in someone, and I don't care where we start, and I don't care how long it takes, but we're going to get there, and we're going to end up getting to the next step, and then we're going to end up getting to the next step.
Sure.
Right. But take me back to that original question that you had asked that I kind of
With like the first one
This
was
one
the
right
origin.
now.
Oh, it had to do with like the types of client, not the types of clientele,
but the different things that we do.
MS, Parkinson's, you know.
So and we work with a whole wide range of diagnoses as well.
Yeah.
You know, some of our people are wheelchair bound.
Right.
Some of our people are contracted. Some of our people are power lifters in the gym that are putting up 560 under the squat rack.
Wow, yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's amazing to watch. And that's where I feel like it comes into play that like you have a good understanding of how the body moves and builds and how you can break down a lot of the exercises that we do and modify. Because I think that there is something for everyone, whether that person's in a wheelchair and contracted or whether that person is a strong power lifter, 25 and going to the Special Olympics. Right. We do work with geriatric clients as well.
Right.
Right now in the field, what we're seeing at one of our communities that is a IDD and autism, this specialized nursing facility actually, they're finding that a lot of their patients and residents are now having comorbidities involving dementia, right? Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and it's the first time that a lot of people are seeing this because the life expectancy of our population has really improved so much over the years, right? Care's gotten so much better, advocacy's gotten so much better, and people are living longer. So it's like a good thing, but it's also, you know, it's a tough thing to see.
Sure. Because the quantity of life is going up, but that quality of life as it continues.
Right. And not for the vast majority. You know, we do have some 85-year-olds that are just as sharp as they were when, you know, they were 25. But seeing those things kind of unfold and kind of being a part of that is really special for me and what we're doing at EmpowerU. So those are some of the more interesting things. And then we actually work with people now where I'll go to see a client and the family member's like, well, we just got our diagnosis and our daughter's 31. You know, and it is some diagnosis that maybe her and 35 other people have in the country or in the world at her age. So they're constantly learning. There's so much more that's being done for the IDD and people with autism.
Now explain IDD.
Yes, IDD is intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it covers a lot of our clients.
Right.
And it is one of the diagnoses that usually works with waiver from what I've seen. And then the autism as well, ISD, another population of individuals that we work with. And it's amazing, you know, getting into the gym with our clients is, I probably told you 45 times, but it's the greatest thing ever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get into, well, two questions. One, when you look at all the clients that you're working with, and it spans, you know, a wide variety, how much of the everyday that you work with them is similar? Like from you have a background in kines, you learn general exercise testing and prescription and things like that. How much of that
carries over
into that world, and then we can get into, okay, well then once the carryover is done, because I'm assuming, is most of it, like a lot of the different clients, hey, we're walking, we're working on cardio, we're picking up objects,
we're lifting
heavier
weights.
and heavier, so we're doing we're working on muscular strength.
I feel like people are also different.
Sure.
And that, like, I do feel like that's one thing that we really kind of resonates when we meet our clients, is that we're different too.
The individual,
Right? Like, we're all individuals in this sense, and we're all going to have to start somewhere. And I almost look at it like there is no difference from what I've learned in school carrying over to what I do today.
Right.
And
from a fundamental standpoint.
Right? Because it's like we're all trying to get those
three
major lifts. You know, like
if you want to improve your fitness, you're going to have to do cardiovascular type exercise.
Absolutely, right? And so however we have to break that down to meet you at where you are today is how we're going to do that, so we can build upon that. Now, I do think that my work that I did as a PTA was really beneficial for me. Right, because
was that for a certain population? That was just for the general pop.
That was general pop and IDD and autism.
Oh, it was.
Like,
that's okay.
Right before.
Oh, that's right. As you morphed,
I had actually started working into that. Yeah. So I feel like having that as a background really helped me be able to break exercises down to a level that I could definitely get you to do something.
Yeah.
No matter what your ability level is. You think about like PTs and like gravity minimized positions or active assist range of motion.
Right.
It's like that person is breaking down that movement to the base level to correct some type of injury or help to build strength and symmetry in the person. And having that knowledge gives you a leg up when you are working with a person that maybe lifting their arm overhead is a little bit difficult for them because of weakness or hypotonia, or the way that their shoulders have kind of formed over the years, right? More narrow with their pectoral girdle. So it is. I just find it to be also relative, and I think it's like a language that we all kind of speak because we're all moving.
Sure.
And the more and more in tune we get with it, the better we're communicating, together. So like it's something cool.
Yeah, and I have a thing. It was like a post I did, and it had to do with like movement is life, life is movement. And there's something it was like a profound moment for me in class one day where I was teaching at Foundations of Exercise Science class, and I just had this. We were going over the nervous system in the one textbook, and we then got into sort of the somatic, nervous system, skeletal muscle, which is like the only voluntary component. So skeletal muscle, virtually any of your skeletal muscle contraction, besides your heart's cardiac muscle, so it's not your skeletal muscle. But besides blinking, and maybe like the intercostals that are opening your rib cage, all other movements are voluntary in life. So we just got down to this idea, and I just was like teaching it, and it said basically the only aspect of your entire existence for the rest of your existence is your thoughts and your skeletal muscle contractions.
Yeah.
And it was like, besides the thoughts, everything that you do for your entire life is just skeletal muscle contraction. You thinking to move your skeletal muscles.
Yes.
Words, yeah, there's a thought, but then I have to move my lips and my tongue and things like that and push more air out. It was a wild thought that you have everything that you have control over in your life has to do with your thoughts leading to you creating some type of skeletal muscle contraction. It's kind of wild because
it is crazy to think about.
It was just a weird moment. So it gets into that sort of, we don't really know where thoughts come from. We know what the brain is, and we still don't really know exactly. I mean, we know a lot about the brain, but then these aspects of thoughts and stuff like that. And it's this mind-body connection. So part of me wonders how much, and I'll preface with, when I teach the entire 4 years of exercise physiology, I will tell students in every class, if you could master one concept in this whole major, it has nothing to do with physiology. It's all, because it has nothing to do with the skeletal muscle contraction. Yeah. It has more to do with the behavior. It has more to do with the thoughts and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like that is so important for us, right? Behaviors especially, and like looking to push performance.
Right.
So when you talk, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
When you talk about like the mind-body connection, this is something we run into all the time, right? A lot of people, especially in the world of autism, we're finding out that there is a disorganization. Like a lot of people do have apraxia when they do have autism, and it's the inability to coordinate the movement from your brain signaling, right? And they're finding out that there is, from the sensory motor looping, right? There's an interruption there and a misfiring of signaling. A lot of it, their thinking is because that it's difficult for our clients with autism to differentiate between the types of noise that they're feeling, the types of sensation that they're feeling. Yeah. And things kind of get jumbled up in that sensory motor cortex. And that, they're doing studies now that are finding that through gross motor functional movement, they're actually seeing a lot less behaviors, a lot less inappropriate movement, and they think that it's through a rewiring of the brain, like a rerouting of that signaling, because the body almost kind of craves that gross motor movement. It's like built into us from the time that we're babies, right? And we learn how to do, like my kids growing up, I can't tell you how perfect their squats were.
Right.
Getting to stand up. And my daughter does have Down syndrome, but my son neurotypical. But both of them incredible when it comes to squat form.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we know how to do that? And then I turn into a 40-year-old man with a beer belly, and it's like I can't get my hips in the right spot, But yeah, so it's really amazing right now, and to be a part of that is really important for us too. And understanding the behavioral components that are going to drive that person to get to the gym. Right. Like it is so driven by the mind, and that's our circuit board.
Like the because I mean, at the end of the day, a big part, you're looking to help your clients which I mean, anyone that looking to, because I ask the students all the time, I ask anyone, what's your whole purpose at the very end? And most of them I'll goad out of them some aspect of help. It's like, well, in order for you to help, you have to get someone to change. Most of that change has to come from here, because what we just said was, well, the only change and the only thing that you have control over is contraction of your muscles, and that's a voluntary thing.
Yeah.
And that comes from you voluntarily, actively wanting to do it. So it's like, I'm just blown away at how much behavior management is huge. And I guess for you, a big part of it, one, is to get that initiation of them to want to and work with them in their own world to figure out, what do you like to do?
Yeah.
Let me just figure out how to get you to do something that you like doing that's going to benefit you. And then I guess exercise adherence would somewhat be a lot easier. It's like that, laws of motion, like a body in motion tends to stay in motion. Once you can get them doing something that they want to do.
It's more of like a well-oiled machine, right? They're programmed.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think like that's one battle that I don't even want to say battle, but it's like a challenge that we face daily, right? Which is like
with your clients.
Yeah, we have this person, and a lot of our people have difficulty just getting into a gym, right? It might be more difficult for them because maybe they have an assisted device, and not only is it physically challenging, but they feel like they're the only person in there with an assisted device, right? And psychologically, it's difficult for them. Some people, it's like you or I, where it's like, the gym's a little bit intimidating at first. We walk in there and you're like, man, I hope, I think the more you get to the gym, the more you realize everybody's thinking like you are.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this for? I hope they're not like checking me out, or like, oh no, like they're staring at themselves in the mirror, like kind of flexing, but they don't want anybody to see it. It's like everybody's in there to get themselves a little bit better, right? I feel like most people go there for that. And I feel like that the person on the treadmill, like trying to get an extra mile, or the guy under the squat rack trying to add weight, like, the people that are there to really push themselves, they're not thinking about you.
I was thinking of this idea of like comfort, that when you get into comfort, I mean,
this is so cool you're asking this, because I think about these things.
Not just comfort, but like I just taught like sports psychology, a chapter on that, and self-efficacy was there, a person's belief that they can actually carry out a task, barrier that they can overcome. And then you get into like self-confidence and things like that. And there's like a random slide that talked about what are some attributes of the most successful people. And they're like really confident in themselves. They have that self-efficacy. They believe that they can accomplish whatever they set out to do. And you eventually get to a point where you could put me in almost like who I am today is different than who I was 20 years ago. You can put me in any gym in the world today, and 45 pounds is 45 pounds. If that's a 45-pound bar, I'm going to know how to pick it up. It doesn't matter who's around me. It doesn't matter the noise, things like that. That's where working with the IDD population and things like that.
Yes.
Do you think is that one of the main reasons you go to their homes for a lot?
We do for some of it.
And then you'll go to parks. You said you will go to some gym, like local gyms or things like that?
Yeah, we do local gyms, parks, anywhere. Like I prefer social.
Sure.
Because I think that it helps people maybe kind of desensitize themselves a little bit. But if a person's not ready, they're not ready, right? Yeah. And so like that's where meeting that person where they are is so important. Like you're comfortable at your house, and we can get these exercises done. Let's get them rolling.
And then would you ever take that person and try and bring them out?
Absolutely.
To a local park or trail or something.
Like that's our big thing, is like belief. Like it's funny that you talk about belief and your self-esteem and your confidence, because I feel like that's everything for our people. Driving back here today to kind of think about some things that I wanted to chat with you about. It's like, I think that getting a person to feel good about themselves in pushing their performance forward, no matter what it is, takes a recipe. Yeah. And like, I feel like we all come to the baking table with different ingredients to that recipe. And like, I love that, we talk about like Goggins and like all of that, and it's awesome. It's great, fun stuff. And they do push like the comfort thing so much. Yeah. Like discomfort is everything and this and that. And I think that individuals in general come to that baking table with different ingredients, and some of them have had so much adversity in their life already. It's just that recipe is overwhelmed with adversity, right? That most of our people need somebody to pat them on the back and say, you know, you're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
You know, and like this is celebrating those small successes so that that person feels more and more confident, and then getting to their house and having them go, Joe, I'm ready for the gym today.
Right.
And then they're ready.
Yeah,
it wasn't Coach Joe coming
Right.
over to take you to the gym because your mom called him
Yeah.
to. You know, it's you making the decision. You're driving the wheel. This is your journey, right? Like this is up to you.
Yeah.
We believe in you because people believe in us. The parents are so overwhelmingly supportive.
Sure.
I've had people in my life that have helped me kind of create the program,
Right.
and not for anything else than their belief in us,
Yeah.
because that they think that it's a good thing and they think that we're out here for the right reasons, and it pushes us forward, and I think that it pushes that onto our clients, which is really important for us.
Yeah. And then how much, because a big part of it is if you're trying to get anyone to do anything to improve overall fitness, there's going to have to be a level of discomfort that they get to.
Totally.
I say in class all the times, I call it the Goldilocks principle, where it's like, you don't want it to be too easy, but you don't want it to be too tough. And that's going to be individual for the individual. That's where the expertise, you're going to figure out where they're at.
Scaling the progression.
Yeah. So it's part of what I was thinking was an aspect of it is trust and comfort and things like that. And that made me have the question of, walk me through like a first session.
Yeah. So our first sessions, we actually do needs assessments.
Okay.
So when we do our needs assessment, I cover everything from like endurance, the overall strength, mobility. I use tests that you would find in like a clinic, you know, like the timed up and go and 6-minute walk test and all these different tests. And then I go through balance. I go through some general manual muscle testing. I'm really looking for any noticeable asymmetries.
Sure.
I'm really looking for maybe a little bit of a limp, right? Like an antalgic gait pattern, or any type of discrepancies in gait or bad balance. And it really tells me like, okay, does this person need EmpowerU right now, or should they go higher level to a PT? Right. Like that helps me differentiate.
Sure.
There. It also helps me kind of see how a person moves. You know, I walk into a lot of these needs assessments and I tell the parents, like, there might be times during the assessment you kind of think I'm a little crazy,
right? Because
I'm going to talk to your adult son or daughter,
right,
the way that I talk to everybody,
right?
And I want to see how they respond to me.
Sure.
You know, I know that the behavioral information helps from the behaviorist.
Right.
Your information helps with communication, and a lot of times it's the right way to do it. But when we're bringing something totally new to this person, I need to see how they react to me and people that are thinking the way that I'm thinking,
right?
And how we can best get through to them. So it's like a communication experiment,
right?
Almost, right. And it does help because I think that by assuming the competence,
right,
we get a lot more out of people.
Yeah.
You know, like
you'll probably draw more competence out of someone by assuming they have it.
Right. Because they have the confidence to maybe put themselves out there and say something that they normally don't say because they might, not feel comfortable saying it. So that's a big part of it. We go through that needs assessment, and then I'm looking at things and deciding if they're safe for us or for exercise. And how we can build their programs, right? This person has had, surgery on their lumbar spine or whatever. Stay away from these exercises, right? This person has metal rods in their ankle. Let's stay away from these type of things.
Like special precautions, contraindications.
It's really contraindications.
Which is really, I think they've had it for, I don't know, a while. NSCA has a certified specialist in special populations.
Yes.
And it's like, even in any textbook, once you get outside of, this is a normal exercise prescription that we're going to use for 95% of the population, really to get into someone with osteoporosis, someone with diabetes, someone with cardiovascular disease, someone with cancer, someone with IDD, it's kind of the same. You're just modifying the intensity, and then you're looking at special precautions and contraindications.
Exactly. Right. So it is. You hit the nail on the head, definitely. And those sessions do look like how we plan them. Now, for those first 4 to 6 weeks, we're getting out there, and maybe it is the person's like, I kind of just want to walk. I don't feel comfortable doing these things. And we're walking, and then we're like, oh, what if we could walk a little faster? Can we jog to the next light post?
Right.
And it's like working in those type of small modifications that's going to help build that person's endurance.
Sure.
So that in 3 weeks you can try to jog 2 light posts.
Right.
And it is like this slow, drawn out process.
Yeah.
We're in no rush trying to get you to health.
Yeah. Progressive overload.
That's exactly it. It is.
Which
Milo, right?
Which gets back to it's still all fundamental exercise prescription.
It is.
It's just modified to
it's
the
just
individual.
supermodel. Yes. And I feel like that's the inclusive part of it.
Yeah.
Like we all start somewhere. I'm no athlete. Like this person feels insecure about this. This person feels like their shoulder kills them every time they do. Like we all have something, and not that they're all as severe and deep as anyone else's problems, but it's something that we can kind of commiserate with, something that we can kind of get on the same page with, and almost feel like we have a partner, with it.
And is that so? Yeah. So it's such a cool just model in general. One, you're providing a need. Actually, what's sort of the age?
So the age is when you said you work with a lot of populations, I'm like, you're right. We definitely do.
Right.
Male, female, like all the way from the ages of 18 up until 85.
Yeah.
Maybe our oldest. Right. And then in the geriatric space, a little older. But yeah, for IDD autism geriatrics, I think our oldest is 85 that we work with. Yeah. And
so a big part, how do you walk us through some of your training? You'll call them coaches.
Yeah, everybody's a coach. I'm Coach Joe.
Coach Joe.
That's the name.
Yeah,
sorry.
I love it. No, you started off with Coach Joe. Walk me through. I think the coaching world in general, I mean, it's already blown up, but when you hear coach, I grew up with coach was, the Coach Scott, our high school football coach, like my soccer coach, things like that. And it's
rite of passage.
But part of that is now, I just got this, I got this certified Maxwell Leadership certified coach, and it's like coach and speaker, but the fundamentals again of all of those aspects of coaching is just like the soccer coach. Like most of what you're trying to do is to get someone to follow, to get them to change their behavior and follow some type of a prescription that you're trying to give them.
You break it down to the fundamentals,
And so walk us through your coaches. Well, first you call yourselves, so EmpowerU, specialty fitness, and you call your coaches
coach.
What type? Adaptive.
Oh, adaptive exercise coaching.
Yeah. Yes. And is that a term? I'd never heard that before. Is that
I don't know if, typing it into any, like when we're getting insurance or like doing it, like
that's what's listed
job. As? No. There's no adaptive.
So you created that.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm sure there's probably another company that may use it that does what we do. But, definitely niche in what we do. I call everybody a coach because there is just so much more to what we're doing than personal training.
Right.
They are coaching on getting people comfortable leaving their home.
Right.
They're coaching people on, small nutritional things that they need to do to clean up their diet a little bit. We can't write out full dietary plans or anything. Not yet, at least.
Sure.
But
you can talk to them about.
Absolutely. We can educate, right? And we can coach them in the right direction.
Right.
They're having a bad day because their girlfriend broke up with them, or, parents have been a little bit distant because they're busy with other things, or, a friend just doesn't want to talk to them right now because they got into a fight, and it's like you're coaching them through that.
Yeah.
Which
is awesome.
Oh, it's great. First off, somebody wants your advice, which is awesome, and you actually feel like you can help because it's things that you may have experienced before many times, and you can actually kind of shepherd or guide this person through that scenario or situation. And they feel a lot better about it too.
Yeah, it's for whatever reason. You said the word educate, and
you're big on educate.
Yeah, it's almost like as an educator, there's things where I'll learn while I'm literally in the middle of teaching. Like I'm up at the board giving a lesson, and all of a sudden I'll think something in my head, and I'm like, I've never thought about that way, and then it just comes out. But part of what your coaches are doing is they're just, at the end of the day, they are educating your clients.
Yes.
Like there's an aspect of it where you're educating them about their life. You said something along the lines of, I can't remember what it was, but it made me think of a quote. I'm obsessed with quotes. And it had to do with this famous, I think it was Socrates. And he said, I've never taught anyone anything. I've merely provided the conditions for which they can learn.
Yeah.
And then I think that's the ultimate goal of a coach. I read another line.
That's huge.
I read another line about like a leader. I think it was what's the famous Packers coach? Lombardi. Yeah, he became a public speaker and things like that. So his big thing was a leader. Like the greatest leaders are those you don't even know they exist. And it's like, that's ultimately at the end of the day, your client's going to give you credit because, hey, coach got me to do this. And it's like, no, I didn't get you to do it.
You did it.
I set up the environment.
Exactly.
If I'm really good, I'm setting up your environment and creating the plans for you to coach, not to coach, for you to teach yourself, for you to learn how and educate how your body works, what works for you, what doesn't, things like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. And like when you say creating the space, like it does. I know that, you know, I think that was Socrates or something you were saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think about like there's like a Buddhist principle, and like I do like to like just read about different.
Yeah, sure.
But they talk about how like beautiful nothing is, and that like you're basically, I think it's like hard to grasp, but like you're basically creating a blank canvas by allowing for nothing. Right. And so I think that by creating that space, like that's what we're doing. We're allowing a person to be able to draw out exactly what they want from this. And it's not what their parents want. And I think that that's huge. It is what their parents
especially
want,
for an adult. You're working for an adult population.
Exactly, right? So we're working with adults. One of the reasons that I thought it was important to work with this specific age population is that, especially for our younger adults, is that aging out of a lot of the programs that they have, it's like you've been working with so many people for so long, you have all these wonderful things. And now not only are you dropping off in your services, which is, it does happen, even though they do a great job in the state of trying to get people services, you're going through like the hardest, most challenging time of your life as a human, right?
Adulthood, like you're becoming an adult.
A huge checkpoint. You're turning into an actual adult.
And for many of them, they're probably,
they've been guided a lot by their parents. And it's like,
some of them are now going on their own.
It's like when a person goes to PT and the PT is like, you got to hit these goals, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. And then if not, you're kicked out. Right. And it's like their whole life has been like that, where it's like, show outcomes, make sure that you're driving this, make sure that you're doing this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then they come to us and they're like, this guy's going to give us boot camp. And it turns into something like, this isn't boot camp. This is what you want it to be. You know, like we are going to find a way to exercise, but it's going to be up to you.
Or let's, because people have that negative connotation of, let's say, a boot camp, but let's build a boot camp that you would want to attend.
What did it, on the one, I was talking to a friend the other day and her dad was on there. He's like in Florida and he's basically built himself his own boot camp because he's training for a marathon qualifier for Boston Marathon. And I was like, that's awesome, right? Like, what's your ideal boot camp? He found his. But no, it is. It's like you have the wheel here and you're making the decisions. And even at first, they're like, like, you know, like I'm going to be emailing their mom or dad about, you know, how we got to. And it's like, no, like this is yours. You know, this is your place. Because for me, exercise is like my place. Like what I enjoy about it is that it's like a leisure activity. Like I enjoy it. I want to get out there and do it. I don't always want to do it. But once I get started, I find what I knew I had to get to.
And then how long is a typical session?
60 minutes. I mean, it depends. Some people, we work on other things like meal prepping and socialization and different things, work hardening even sometimes. Those sessions are a little bit longer. And if we provide transport, you know, like sometimes we pick people up depending on the coach, bring them to the gym. Those sessions are a little bit longer, but usually hour in the gym is standard.
And how many days a week would be?
So we do.
I know it varies probably, but
so we do as little as 1 and as many as 5. I'd say most people are between 2 and 3. You know,
which then is getting closer to meeting the recommendations for being physically active and things like that.
Hitting your 150 hours.
Do you give them not homework, but will you recommend?
I will. Now I do stay away from set homework at first, right? Because I really don't want it to feel like it's going to be this crazy thing for a person.
I
want you to kind of.
I don't have Coach Joe here. So if I don't do it, what's going to happen?
Exactly. And then it usually turns into like, oh, I kind of like doing this. Well, would you want to come here and do it by yourself? I have a guy right now actually that we picked up who had multiple kidney replacements, kidney failure, and does not like to exercise at all. He's in his 50s. Great guy. And is a huge success story, not because he's losing a ton of weight, but because every day right at around 7 o'clock when I'm not working with him or he doesn't have another staff member with him, he texts me and say, hey, I'm on the treadmill.
In the morning?
In the afternoon, like in the evening. Usually it's at night. Hey, wanted to let you know, I came down to the treadmill and I had salmon rice and peas today for lunch.
Right.
And it's like, that is a huge win for me.
Sure.
Because I didn't tell you to have salmon, rice, and peas. And I didn't tell you to go get on the treadmill and try to maybe do a couple of resistance training exercises. You went down there on your own volition. When we first met, you almost hated me because of what I represent.
And that was how long ago?
This was 5 months ago. Like, this isn't a person that we've even had for that long. Right. So it's a huge turnaround. It's fun. And like, he'll go jogging. You know, George sent me a picture the other day. They were running up hills. You know, the guy's like, you know, like, I can't stand this, but he's enjoying it. You know, it's like that pain you like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
And then there's an aspect of, and now I think a big part, I always talk about like Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers is always on like one of the top 5, top 10 lists of weight loss programs, whatever. And one of the main aspects, it seems, is because everyone's getting a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, their model is really good, but you have a coach. They like are making you be accountable, and you have someone to share your success, but also those pitfalls and stumbles and things like that. Now that client has someone, if the day that they didn't go on the treadmill, they wanted to, they have someone to tell them it's going to be okay. We need you to get back on it tomorrow, stuff like that.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it. Like, the path gets disrupted.
Yeah.
Things happen, and sometimes you really don't feel like doing it. I do encourage people to be disciplined with their program.
Right.
Like, this will help on the days that you don't want to be here.
Right.
You know, it's going to be the thing that gets you down here, and you're probably going to leave feeling a lot better, especially if that day was hard. Right. So I do really try to push that. Now, this person that we were just talking about, we're running a nutritional pilot with them. And one of the things that we actually do is I check in weekly. To see what he's doing, right? And it's about, he thinks that I'm going to come over the top of his head anytime he's like, I had a cookie.
Right.
And I'm like, Bob, his name's not Bob, I'm just saying Bob.
Yeah.
I'm like, Bob, 1 cookie's okay.
Right.
Maybe next week we'll try for half a cookie.
Right.
Like, let's get back on the path. That's it. You just slipped off a little bit. And 1 cookie's not a big deal. Like, we can almost even work that into your program if you gotta have it. Right. So I think that when they hear that, they do feel more encouraged. It's not like mom or dad being like, you just can't get this right. You know, a lot of times it's like the people that I work with, there is so much to them and they want to do so well. Like, we all have that drive in us to get a pat on the back.
Right.
You know, like, we all have a drive in us to please other people and like feel like we're doing something great.
Right.
And I think that sometimes I see it even raising my children, is that like, you're like usually harder on yourself and your kids than you are other people. And so they get to a person like me, it's like, I had French fries at McDonald's the other day. And it's like, that's okay.
Right.
You're still here.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you know, you'll be all right. And and they almost get shocked that like, you're not going so hard on them. It's like, this is life. Like, you're going to mess up a little bit. And as long as you know what to stay away from and you kind of feel bad about it, I'm sure that maybe in a few weeks, like, that'll taper off a little bit. Maybe it would be once every 2 weeks or something that you slip up.
It's kind of like that quote, life's not what happens to you, life's what you do about what happens to you. So it's not that you ate a cookie. It's not that you missed a session. It's not, you know, for anyone, it's not that you failed your test. It's not that blank. What are you going to do about it from there?
Exactly.
And that's where the coaching. Now, can we shift gears a tiny bit?
Yes.
Because this is your business. So talk about the business aspect. What was that?
Business is booming. No, I'm just kidding. My cousin always says that. He's a painter. The business aspect is something that I'm actually not as
Because it's been go ahead.
Strong suited with or as comfortable with.
So it's trial by fire.
Yes. When we were talking about opening those doors in the beginning, and I said, sometimes you get to that door, you open it and you're like, I'm going to jump. And then you're like, I'm still in the air. Right. Like, maybe I bit off a little more than I can chew. I don't find that to be the case here, but I do think that there is a lot to it, you know, and a lot to learn. And I'm glad that I had prepped myself as much as I did. But no matter how much preparation, you know, Mike Tyson always, I got a great Mike Tyson quote. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like, tell somebody maybe that's why my planning's so bad. I get punched in the face too much. Right. But no, it's actually going really well. And we are a niche. Right. There aren't a lot of people out there doing what we do.
Right.
And it's a service that has an incredible need. I mean, my God, this population of people has been so overlooked by the fitness industry for so long. And it's like, EmpowerU is going to work to change that.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we want.
Yeah.
We want you to have the same access that John does, even though John's in a wheelchair.
Right.
right? Like we want everybody to have that access because movement affects and impacts so many different aspects of your life that are important to your progress as a human being.
Yeah.
Right. Um, yeah.
And then, so working with the business, where do you find coaches? So,
Indeed.
yeah.
So sometimes I use Indeed. Sometimes like a person like you will be like, hey, I got a great recommendation. Sometimes other coaches know somebody that was really strong in one of their classes that's now looking for a position and worked in Best Buddies. It's like those kind of things.
And how much training is there?
So we have to go through orientation through the state.
Yeah.
And they do that. I have people go through seizure orientation because I find it to be really important. If a lot of our people do have seizure disorder, and if a seizure does happen in the gym, it's important that we know what to do before it happens, right? Like get that person away from all the equipment, right? Get them seated or lying down on a mat table, wherever you can get them. It's going to be safe. We do all of our other type of training there as well. But then I actually have a 3-week orientation period that I run our coaches through. Because I found that like some of our people are super gung-ho and they come out with us a couple of times and they're like, I don't know if this is for me. And like, good, because I want to know that now.
Sure.
Like you're going to start working with one of our clients. Right. They're going to get it. You're going to build that rapport and that trust. And then in 4 weeks, if you feel like this really isn't for you, well, now you're hurting somebody's feelings on top of, leaving them out of exercise.
They're expecting you to continue to show up for them.
Yeah. So I always try to make sure that I find the right people.
Right. How hard is that?
It can be really hard.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to manage, right? Like that's the business aspect that I've been working on over these last 18 months that I feel like I've gotten pretty tuned up now. But at first it was just like hectic. You're forced to learn a different aspect of like human testing on the go.
Yeah. How you can get a feel for someone.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that, shoot, what were we saying?
I was just with you training your coaches and things like that. Jim Rohn has a really good line where he said, you don't make good people, you find good people.
Yes.
So he said everyone has good in them, but that's a judgment call of whether you want to spend half of your business hours just trying to turn someone into a good coach, as opposed to finding someone who's already a good coach, and now I'm going to make them I'm going to help make them an outstanding coach because
I do look for experience in this field.
Sure.
But I also look for those people that you say that are like, I want to help somebody else.
Right.
Like I almost feel like those are the people that are going to kind of go through a lot of barriers and walls to get to that person and really try to help them. So, and we do have qualifications.
Sure.
You got to have your CPT.
Right.
You need to have some type of experience in this field.
Yeah.
And whether it's in this field or in geriatrics, working with neurodegenerative disease, or if it's in working with people with TBIs, it is really important that some type of experience is there, because I can't comfortably send you to one of our clients knowing that you're not ready for it.
Right.
We go through that 3-week orientation process and they're coming out with us and I'm going over a ton of information. And then every 2 weeks, we actually have team huddles, right? And all my people are contractors. So it's not like these aren't mandatory meetings, but a good amount of them show up to each one. Because I try to cover things that are really important and pertinent to what we're doing from an administrative standpoint and from a programming standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
So how has EmpowerU, doing this as a business every day, has that changed your family life? Has that changed your relationship with your daughter? Has that changed ways in which you're going to approach her everyday life? Because now you're exposed to that from a global scale, where you have all these clients that have all these idiosyncratic differences that they need to meet them where they're at. How is the business EmpowerU affected?
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, there's definitely been huge impacts, right? So I came from, I had a good job.
Sure.
I'm in a place in Philly, we were, and getting set out on this mission. I knew it wasn't going to be something that was, at the time, the I guess, the financially smartest thing
Sure.
to do. I knew it was much more about a drive and
Right.
a purpose for me. So it has changed a lot in my family, but I'm grateful for the people that are in it,
Right.
because like my wife, like I don't know many women that would have put up with just
Sure.
the demand of me.
Right.
Right. Like I'm on the computer late at night.
Yes.
I'm up early in the morning.
Right.
I do really try to map out my days to where I'm
Sure.
creating time for my children and my
Yeah.
wife. And it gets
I'm
difficult.
practicing block. My wife's like, I heard this thing called block scheduling.
Yeah.
And it works.
Oh, it
like,
helps.
You know,
I'm like a big person on like, after I do this, I do this. For some reason, it works for me
Sure.
really well. But yeah, I do. Like in the morning, I map out a lot of time with them to make sure that I'm helping them
Sure.
start their day and get ready for school. I think the start of your day is big.
Right.
And then after they get home from school, from about 3:30 to 7:30,
Right.
I am completely shut off from the computer.
Right.
And I block out that time. Like no one can schedule with me, nothing like that. And it really does help me feel more balanced with them.
Sure.
But it's been a long journey to get here, and I'm just lucky that nobody, kicked me under the bus yet.
Sure.
And that everybody stuck around. Like my wife especially has been really good.
Yeah.
And has helped like drive the mission forward.
Yeah.
Just by being here and being able to support me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Definitely. And then like dealing with Sloan, I mean, like I just feel like I'm more patient with the fact that like, because I feel like before I actually started this, it was more like, let's do this. I was trying to get her to walk at 12 months, right? And it's not very typical. Yeah. And then by the time she was 15 months, she was walking in parallel bars. Like I built these PVC parallel bars in our kitchen, and she was able to walk with those. And then by 18 months, she was definitely completely on her own. Like even at the 15-month mark, she could kind of do it. And I found out that it was just like, it was based on her process.
Yeah.
I can stand here and get you to strengthen as much as or try to get you to strengthen as much as you want. But if you're not there yet, you're not there yet.
Right.
And I think that has really helped me with understanding that patience is the number one thing.
Yeah.
And that it's not my goals.
Yeah.
They're Sloan's goals. Right. And it's not my goals, but it's my client's goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tolstoy says the greatest warriors are time and patience.
Awesome.
But part of what you were saying, it's making me think that it's probably like a synergistic, where now Sloan is helping you in EmpowerU, and then EmpowerU is helping you.
Oh, Sloan changed my world.
Yeah.
Sloan changed my entire world around. And it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Because you find something that like I feel like I'm good at.
Yeah.
Like we all want to be like accepted and liked, and we all want a little bit of a pat on the back. And it's nice when the client or their parents or a supports coordinator or an administrative entity or another agency is like, hey, we really love what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things where, again, changing work, changing the dynamic. I always tell, and it's a realization I had, I always tell students, I always tell random clients that I'm working with, there's more than one good version of you.
I know.
That you can pursue in life.
I know.
It's just
which parallel universe.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk's a big one. He's like, Yogi Berra says, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. And Gary Vee is really big on, just make a decision. Indecision is a thief of opportunity. Yeah. But the idea was just make a decision. You'll never know what the alternative was going to be like.
Yeah.
So just dive into whatever you're going into. So
yeah, just do it full fledged.
Yeah.
Like, I always try to, because I am a person that is like a stutter stepper or like a little bit like, well, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I listen to this guy say like, what's your plan B? And then he's like, I'll answer for you. You don't have one, because it takes away from plan A. And not that I didn't have plan B, with your PTA or like the thing, my history, my work experience, I felt like I could have worked myself in a job if I needed to. And I had a couple of properties in Philly. Yeah. So like we did have some saved capital. Not that you want to dive into it at 32, but if we had to, it was there. And so like there were those things that I used to kind of hedge myself a little bit, make the fall feel more comfortable if it did happen.
Sure.
Right. But yeah, it was, it does scare you. It scares the crap out of you. And I think that fear, not fear, but like a mix of all of those emotions and feelings and the drive to get it done, it does really push you forward.
Yeah,
it does.
Now, given all of that, I appreciate all the time today.
Thank you so much for listening to me talk.
It's
been awesome.
One of the things I love about the podcast is to talk about all these things is my wife gets she doesn't want to hear. There's a lot of people in my life that are like, oh, I don't want to hear, I'll say something to my daughter and she's like, Dad, I don't want to hear another quote or something like that. So it's like, maybe there's one viewer or maybe, stuff like that.
I'll call Joe.
I'll call Joe, Coach Joe. Well, so we'll sort of wrap things up. Given the nature of the podcast, one of the things I love about interviewing, all these varied guests, such as yourself, is, valued pursue, like there's value in pursuing a better you.
Absolutely.
What does that mean to you? How does that resonate with?
I feel like it definitely resonates with me. Even like getting here, being in the positions I was in, I thought I wanted to be there. Like I always thought I wanted something.
Sure.
And I finally got there, like in the director role. And I was like, I absolutely despise this.
Yeah.
I'm working with a bunch of people, like not a bunch, but like some of them didn't really believe in some of the therapies.
Right.
And like were more jaded to the profession a little bit. And it wasn't a team that I thought that I would have built. Like it wasn't what I wanted my approach to be for it. And that was part of my decision here too. I wanted to find value in what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like we talk about, I think the first time we met, we talked about altruism.
Right.
And how I find it to be that different people extract different things from what they want out of life, right? Like for some people, it's finances. For some people, it's property. For other people, it's purpose. And for me, it is purpose. And I'm not a fool to the financial aspect. Like I know that it impacts everything that makes the world go round, right? But value to me was much more important. Right. And just the way that my mentality is and like the type of person I am psychologically, like I don't think it could be any other way. Like I think this was actually like a path set long before I realized it.
Yeah. It just took you a while to figure out where to place your feet.
Totally.
Like,
and I'm a little ADHD, so I'm like,
sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, absolutely, doctor. Thank you.
Yeah. And, I look forward to, go ahead.
How's the fire sauce?
Totally fine. We had Chipotle beforehand and he didn't know if I liked hot sauce.
So I went with the hot sauce.
Yeah. My default would be go with the mild first. Because mild, there's almost no implication unless somebody loves hot sauce and they're disappointed. But there's no physical.
You probably wouldn't have done the interview if you saw me. I was in there. I'm like getting on a podcast. Let's get all jazzed up, like give this guy the hot stuff. I wanted to.
But it was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks everyone for listening. And I look forward to
thanks for listening.
Many more conversations. So.
Definitely. EmpowerUSF.com. Reach out to us. We also have
where can they find you? On social media?
EmpowerUSF on Instagram. So reach out to us. Any questions you might have, be happy to answer them. Thank you. Thanks. Great. That was awesome, dude.
Thank you for being here and taking a step towards growth. As the saying goes, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. We look forward to sharing more expertise and content with you, and we want to hear from you about what topics you're interested in learning more about. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this experience, please like, subscribe, and share with others who could benefit.
Our goal is to grow the show and bring on more valuable guests to provide relevant content for your life. Thank you for joining us on this mission to spread knowledge and connect with people around the world. The Valued Pursuit podcast and content posted by Valued Pursuit is presented solely for general informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast or website are at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, medical, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical or mental health condition they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such condition. You ever have a vision? Something you see play out before it happens? They say that the scariest thing in life is not growing into your potential, not recognizing the person you were created to be. We are on a mission to help everyone on this planet chase that version of you, your most fulfilled self. Created here in the USA, Reinvent Co. is now releasing their one-off hoodie in a full zip design, premium quality fitted to your physique to show you are chasing greatness in all aspects of life. Wear a garment that shows your potential evolving over a lifetime and become a part of a brand where humans connect to knock down the obstacles they face for endless refinement and continuous improvement.